Could you imagine if you were sick and needed help, but everyone you spoke to shied away from you, even detested you just because you needed help, saying that you were diseased and unhelpable? Richard Pemberton and Tony Wainwright from the University of Brighton and the University of Exeter, respectively, can imagine. As well-researched experts in this field, they've written an article in an academic journal, the International Journal of Clinical and Health Psychology, about the end of mental illness thinking, which is the title of this article. I chose this article to speak over because I have personally felt the effects of the subject matter, and it's important to me to get the word out. There's so much in this article, but I'll only be hitting a few main points, being the need for a paradigm shift, the casual psychosocial, which is society's impact on the psyche, factors that cause mental distress, and the reason the change of the disease model should happen. The main points in this article talk about the need to factor in the effects of psychosocial pressure and attitudes that causes certain mental disorders. If you look at the anxiety levels of teens in 2014, you'll find that they're the same as asylum patients in the 1950s. Like, how messed up is that? The article, however, is talking about new programs in the UK that have been showing that better access to therapy has greatly improved many patients' lives, who would have otherwise gone untreated for simple fear of the disease. This is a good point, but on the flip side of the coin, this kind of freedom of treatment isn't available everywhere, and not everyone's going to change their way of thinking right off the bat. In fact, many people won't change their thinking at all. It is, however, relevant in psychology field to recognize how these factors can detriment mental health. This takes me into my next point, which is the need for a paradigm shift. The article talks here about an outdated ideas and practices being replaced by scientific advances in epigenetics and neuroscience. Epigenetics being a study of changes in organisms caused by the modification of gene expression rather than the alteration of the genetic code itself, and neuroscience being any or all of the sciences such as neurochemistry or psychology, which deals with the structure or function of the nervous system or brain. Personally, I find this to be a very good point. Outdated ideas in other medical fields, like the unnecessary amputation of limbs, have been discarded as medical advances came along as well. From here, we can go to the third and final point, which ties all these together. That point is the need for a change in the disease model, which is to say, to not treat mental distress like a dangerous wild creature. There's a very real fear of people with mental disorders committing a bunch of crimes, when there's a lot of proof that says the opposite, that people with mental disorders are less likely to commit crimes. The article talks about advocating the development of new ways to bring together all of the elements of a person's experience in order to help them most effectively. It makes it point well in the article, provides good examples to back up its statements and theory. It's relevant that it could really actually change how the community deals with mental distress and the treatment is given to provide a much more inclusive solution. This article points out the pros of abandoning the disease model, the need for a paradigm shift, and the casual psychosocial effects of mental disorders. It provides studies and new thinkings on old ways and makes very good solid points on its meaning. I think it's very correct that these things are exactly what we should do to help the general public in their understanding of mental distress. Ultimately, these are the facts, whether they choose to accept them or not. Thank you.
Hello.